blinds, stretching to touch it with her fingertips. The window cracked under her shoulder. "I'll see you on Monday," he said into the phone, and she kicked the blind cord behind the radiator and went back to sit down before he could notice that she was destroying his office around him. Now she had to get the job so she could cover the tracks of her vandalism. And besides, there was that desk. Somebody needed to save this guy. And then there was her need for money to pay for rent and other luxuries. Somebody needs to save me, she thought. He hung up the phone and turned to her, looking hot and tired. "I apologize, Mrs. Dysart. You can see how much we need a secretary." Nell looked at his desk and thought, "You need more than a secretary, buddy." But she said, "Perfectly all right." She was going to be cheerful and helpful if it killed her. He picked up her resume. "Why did you leave your last position?" "My boss divorced me." "That would be a reason," he said, and began to read. His people skills needed work, she thought, as she stared down at her sensible, low-heeled black pumps, planted firmly on the ancient Oriental rug where they couldn't walk her into trouble again. Now, if he'd been Tim, he'd have offered her sympathy, a Kleenex, a shoulder to cry on. He would have followed that up by suggesting the purchase of some insurance, but he would have been sympathetic. There was a spot on the carpet, and she rubbed at it with the toe of her shoe, trying to blend it in. Spots made a place look unsuccessful. It was the details that counted in an office environment. She rubbed harder, and the carpet threads parted, and the spot got bigger. It wasn't a spot. She'd found a hole, and had managed to shred it to double its size in under 15 seconds. She put her foot over the hole and thought, "Take me, Jesus, take me now." "Why do you want to work for us?" he said, and she smiled at him, trying to look bright and eager. Plus, the aforementioned cheerful and helpful, which was hard since she was middle-aged and cranky. "I think it would be interesting to work for a detective agency," she said, thinking, "I think I need a job so I can hold on to my divorce settlement for my old age." "You'd be amazed how boring it is," he said. "You'll be doing mostly typing and filing and answering phones. You're overqualified for this job." "I'm also 42 and unemployed," she thought, but she said brightly, "I'm ready for a change." He nodded, looking as though he wasn't buying any of it, and she wondered if he was enough like Tim that he'd recycle her in 20 years, if after the passage of time he would look at her and say, "We've grown apart. I swear I haven't been interviewing other secretaries on the side, but now I need somebody new, somebody with real typing skills, somebody—" The arm of the chair wobbled under her hand, and she realized she'd been pulling up on it. Relax. She shoved it back down again, clamping her elbow to her side to stop the chair arm from moving any more, keeping her foot on the spot on the rug. Just sit still, she told herself. Behind her, the blind rustled as it slipped a little. "You certainly have the skills we need," McKenna said, and she forced a smile. "However, our work here is highly confidential. We have a rule. We never talk about business outside this office. Can you be discreet?" "Certainly," Nell said, pressing harder on the chair arm as she tried to radiate discretion. "You do understand that this is a temporary position?" Yes," Nell lied, feeling suddenly colder. Here was her new life, just like her old life. She heard a faint crack from the direction of the chair arm and loosened her grip a little. "Our receptionist is recovering from an accident and should be back in 6 weeks, he was saying. "So, October 13th, I'm history," Nell finished. At least he was letting her know ahead of time that the end was coming. She wouldn't get attached. She wouldn't have a son with him. She wouldn't— The chair arm wobbled again, much looser this time, and he nodded. "If you want the job, it's yours." The blind slipped again, a rusty, sliding sound. "I want the job," Nell said. He fished in his center desk drawer and handed her a key. "This will get you into the outer office on the days my partner Riley or I haven't opened before you get here." He stood and offered her his hand. "Welcome to McKenna Investigations, Mrs. Dysart. We'll see you Monday at 9. Nell stood too, releasing the chair arm gingerly in the hope that it wouldn't fall to the floor.